So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to review what we've talked about in the last couple of days with the experiments. The first thing we looked at is if we put a jar over a candle, what happens? And we saw the candles go out. Take a second and explain to me, why did these candles go out when we put the jar over top of them? They went out because they used up all the oxygen in the jar. So we know that fire needs oxygen in order to continue burning. So next, we put a plant in the jar with the candle. The candle didn't go out. Why? So here's my plant, here's my candle. Well, why didn't the candle go out now? It didn't go out because the plant must have been making oxygen for the candle to use, okay? So next thing they did is they were like, hey, are we sure that plants make oxygen? We're gonna double check. We know mice need oxygen, so we're gonna put a mouse in a jar with a plant and see if it lives or dies. And guess what? The mouse lived. So what does this tell us about plants and photosynthesis? What do plants produce from photosynthesis? Yeah, it tells us that plants produce oxygen, right? So the next thing we did is we looked at bromethymol blue. Remember, if the bromethymol blue is blue, it means it doesn't have any CO2, carbon dioxide. If it's yellow, it does. So we placed some test tubes in the dark. One test tube had a leaf, the other was empty. Nothing happened. Then we placed some in the light, one with a leaf, one without. So what did this tell us? It told us that this leaf was using up the CO2 because that bromethymol blue turned blue. It turned from yellow back to blue. So to recap, right, from the photosynthesis experiments, right, mouse and jar, okay, that was where they put the mouse and the plants with the jar. We saw that photosynthesis creates oxygen, okay, because that mouse was able to survive. We did the leaves, right, with the bromethymol blue. We saw that photosynthesis, we need light in order for stuff to happen. Okay, when we put them in the dark, nothing happened. We also need leaves. The test tubes that did not have leaves didn't have anything happening. And we know that photosynthesis uses CO2 because the bromethymol blue turned from yellow to blue. Today, if you would like, you can write this stuff down. These are the results of our experiment. That photosynthesis creates oxygen, uses CO2, needs light, and needs leaves and plants. Today, we're going to be looking at the third part to this lab. So this is a geranium leaf. Okay, it comes from a plant. It's a common house plant or plant that you'll see on people's yards called a geranium. We're going to use leaves from a geranium plant. So we're going to use 3 different geranium leaves. One stored in the light, one in the dark, and a variegated one. Variegated means it's different colored, right? So it's white and green, and we're going to put that one in the light. So I want you to take a guess right now. Which do you think will be able to do photosynthesis? The green leaf stored in the light, green leaf stored in the dark, or the variegated one stored in the light? We're going to see if you're correct. So in order to do this experiment, we had to do some prep work. First thing we did, we took a geranium leaf and we boiled it, and then we put it in methanol. Methanol is an alcohol. I want you to tell me, what do you notice that's different about this leaf over here compared to our fresh green leaf? What happened to this leaf? Any description is fine. What we see is that a bunch of this chlorophyll came out of the leaf. Okay, the chlorophyll is the green stuff. Chlorophyll is in chloroplasts, helps us photosynthesis, and it gives plants their green color. So we want to be able to see this leaf better without all that green stuff. So now we're going to add some iodine onto each leaf. Tell me, do you remember what iodine tests for? It tests for starch. Okay, remember starch is a carbohydrate. So carbohydrates and sugars are produced from photosynthesis. So we're going to look and see, can we see, were these leaves doing photosynthesis by seeing, did they make starch? So take a look at these guys. The one in the light turned kind of brownish. The one in the dark didn't really turn that black color. And the variegated one had some parts that were black. So my question is, do we need light in photosynthesis? Yeah, we do. Because you'll see here, the ones in the light ended up turning darker colors. The ones in the dark didn't. They didn't produce starch. Look at the variegated leaf. Where was it able to do photosynthesis? So I've got two different ones here. This is just the before and after, and then the before and after. Where was it able to do photosynthesis? It was able to do photosynthesis like in the middle of that leaf, right? Where it was green, the green parts. Remember, green has chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is what we need in order to do photosynthesis. So from this experiment, we see that we need light, right? So light is one thing we needed because the one in the dark, this guy in the middle, didn't turn purple. So we need light, okay? We also need chlorophyll. We need that green stuff in order for photosynthesis to happen. And we found out that photosynthesis produces starch, okay? I would recommend writing this in your notebook. As kind of a summary of this experiment.